Hi there and welcome to the Labyrinth today. If you're a newbie, thank you so much for the visit. Thanks for dropping in. I hope you enjoy it and will stay. If you are a returning visitor, thank you so much for your ongoing support. I'm so glad to have you here as part of this journey. Now, before I go any further, I just want to say a big heartfelt thank you from me to you for all of the new subscribers and for the older ones. It really does help to validate at a core level what I'm trying to do here on YouTube. So I can't express my gratitude, I think, adequately at all. Now, given your generosity in subscribing to the channel, I really don't want to be that kind of person that's saying, what's that saying? Give them an inch and they'll take a mile. I don't really want to do that, but I was actually, did you hear that but? That just fell out my mouth. I don't want to do that, but, right, I actually was having a look at YouTube and I was trying to work out how to do live streaming because some of the things that I would like to do would be more inclusive and conversational type stuff so that we can actually be more interactive. And anyway, I can't do it. It's a feature I can't access until I've got a lot more subscribers. I looked at it and I thought, oh goodness me, I've got my work cut out here, and a lot more view hours and that kind of thing. So anyway, where I'm going with this is I actually need to apparently have about 1,000 subscribers, if I recall correctly, before I'm going to be able to offer that service. So yes, please, look, if you like what you're seeing and you want to know more, leave comments, let me know what kind of content you're looking for. I'll attempt to fulfill that need. And then if you can share, that would be very appreciated as well. And then we can go into this inclusive and collaborative type stuff down the track and hopefully not too far away. So thank you very much again. I'm going to move on now with the content. So last week I introduced you with a video on the Friday to the concepts of what's called emotional intelligence, and emotional quotient is the other flash name for it. And obviously I'm going to deliver it kind of in a series. So you will have seen this Friday that we've got up Find Your Tribe, which is part of that, right? Because look, the bottom line is, as much as I did the spiritual stuff, and I have been doing it for years and years and years now, I know personally that there was a gap there that I didn't have the skills with, and in fact I'm still working on those skills as well. And it wasn't until I went to university that it became very clear to me that when we talk about awareness on a spiritual level, we often think that we're there or that we're getting there or that we're doing okay. But if you don't know something, you don't know something. We don't know to ask questions about subjects and information that we're not informed of. So this is part of awareness as well. So it was when I was at university that I learned a lot of this content as well, and that definitely has been very helpful for me as far as empowerment goes, and just developing and expanding my own consciousness and awareness. So it's good practical information. So anyway, where I'm going with this is, yes, we loaded the first lot of content on introducing emotional intelligence and the concepts around it and what it actually means. And then we've added the Find Your Tribe one to help you kind of identify that where your thinking is at and what kind of friend you are and what kind of expectations you have about your friends. Because when we know this kind of information about ourselves, then it's easier for us to establish and connect with other people and evaluate those relationships. And do not forget, please, if you're new to the channel, you may not be aware of this, I've put up a series on friendships, circles, boundaries, and that kind of stuff. It's a 3-part series, but it does teach you skills. So all of this stuff is about expanding consciousness, awareness, understanding of self, and how to interact better with the people around us and how to make healthy decisions within our relationships. Anyway, I'm waffling on. I'll go on to the next slide. So I'm definitely going to be expanding on the emotional awareness and management content, but we'll talk about that actually in one of the next slides. At the moment, what's probably on the radar and probably that you're waiting for, because I've actually said I'm working on about 21 of them, it's the content of angels is still under development. It is a massive job. But I hope that you're realizing that here on the channel, we actually like to pay attention to detail, so that when we publish it, I really hope that you will appreciate it. We're very close. I had been thinking about releasing it little bit by little bit, because there's some that are finished and ready to be released, but I'm holding back on it. There's a few issues around the idea of drip feeding the content on angels onto YouTube, and I'll explain why now. I'm pretty sure that there's quite a few content pirateers out there. I'm not quite sure what the real name is, but I have watched a few videos, and I can see that a lot of these techno wizards, they can actually create this content without having any intent attached to it. By that, I mean that I clicked on a YouTube channel to get some information on how to use a feature so that I could create something on here. And it was demonstrated to me by obviously somebody in India, I'm presuming, being assumptive. It was an Indian accent. And anyway, what they were doing was actually creating meditation videos and showing you how to do it, which of course that's what I want to put on here as well, by the way. But this person clearly was not into this. They weren't a spiritual person. It's just like, here's what you do, which I figure is a bit dubious, okay? So when I put my stuff out, when I put it out there onto YouTube, I want people to actually be able to have at least got to the stage where they can recognize what's genuine and authentic, and what might be part of somebody sitting behind a desk just looking to monetize a YouTube channel. I'm going to leave you to try and work that out instead of me trying to spell it out for you. Yeah, there's ethics and integrity attached to the content that I'm putting up for you. And also, I think in many ways, I'm putting my soul into it to try and gift you something of quality. And at least if I put it all up there, I figure with the angel content, it's not like somebody can take a piece of it and go and abuse it. I don't know. I'm not being very rational. It's a bit late in the day. But anyway, it's coming, and it's not that far away. We're working on it. So as previously stated, emotional intelligence is going to be up there as a priority for mainstream information, education, psychoeducation stuff. And this is because they are messengers for us to actually address on a spiritual level as well as on a physical level. And that will become even clearer as I release the content on the spiritual stuff too. But understanding and unpacking emotions is the best way to create change and to empower ourselves. You will have heard the sayings, I'm sure, of blind rage, or people that see the world through, excuse me, I need a cough, through love goggles. And this, of course, is where the way we perceive the world is warped. Our vision becomes completely tainted because of our emotional state, and that can really negatively impact on our decision making and take us down some really undesirable paths, for a better description. Anyway, all of this kind of content we're going to be loading on a Friday. It's going to be expanded upon as time goes by. So there was a big uh-oh and whoopsie this week with the Ruling 9, which I apologise sincerely for. I got myself confused. I thought that I'd loaded it and I hadn't. So it went up late. Anyway, once again, apologies for that. This week I'm going to do a bit of a yarn on numerology, because I've been preparing the master numbers for you that gets loaded tomorrow. The video tomorrow is about the Master 11, and of course that carries a lot of responsibility with it. So I think most people are going to be quite interested, even if they're not into numerology. I think they'll actually be interested in the famous people, especially the English citizens and the people of the UK, when they see who those people are and the implications that it could have for them. And I like to think in positive ways. Anyway, I also wanted to remind people that when we talk about numerology and all this content that I put up, we're primarily focused on the positive attributes and the potential of a person, right? In accordance with the divine plan, okay? But what we all need to remember is a divine plan is for a lifetime, and it can take a person a lifetime to achieve their potential. And sometimes people don't even achieve their potential anyway, and they have to be born again and do it all over again, whatever. Anyway, as I was doing the content for the Master Numbers, I recalled when we speak about people can live up to their potential or they can move in the other direction. There's a lot of positive stuff attached to an 11, but clearly they can also be living the negative. So I met somebody that was living by the negative at least that stage of their life when I met her. Goodness me, must be nearly 10 years ago. We had a mutual friend, and my friend had said something like, you should go and meet this lady. I don't want to mention names. She's a ruling 11, and she's beautiful, she's powerful, she's into healing, she's such a lovely person, she's very powerful, all of this stuff. And she's so sweet and generous and kind. I told her about you, and she wants to offer you a healing. This was how it came to me. Now, I was reluctant and hesitant, and realistically, when we talk about feelings, that was my early warning bell to not actually go. However, I bowed to pressure and I went along. And long story short, the woman was hoping to get a free reading from me. She'd been told I was a psychic, and the way she approached it was actually really unethical, despite the fact that she was an 11 and values and ethics are really quite important to them, usually. She asked when I arrived if I'd brought my cards, and then she told me it's okay. I've only got one question. I heard it and I was like, yeah, right, okay, that's going to violate somebody's privacy and free will and everything else, and totally inappropriate. And no way, this is my tells, no way am I going to try and explore that, because that's going to have really bad karma for me if I even think about it. So I politely explained to her that it was inappropriate for me to have this discussion, if you like, for want of a better word. I think I'm good for time, so I might expand on this. So anyway, I then say to her, okay, well, that's good, I didn't realise I was having to do an exchange. I can do a reading for you another day if you like, but I won't be answering those kind of questions. Anyway, I said to her, how does this work, right? What's your modality? How do you work as a healer? And she said, I put people into trance and I work at a very high level healing. It'll be fine. Don't worry about it. I thought, very odd. I'm not used to that kind of response. I said to her, listen, it's going to be a bit difficult. If you're relying on hypnosis, it doesn't usually work for me. I don't go under for hypnosis. So we agreed that we would give it a go. And at some point within this trance, well, she thought I was in a trance. I was just lying on the floor feeling pretty relaxed, actually. At some point within there, she leans in really close to me, and I was like, what is going on? And then she whispers in my ear the question. Sorry. She leans in, she whispers, will my ex come back to me? And I thought, oh my God, I can't believe she's asking me that when she thinks that I'm in trance. Because I was just lying on the floor with my eyes closed, and I'm lying there thinking, oh my God, how am I going to deal with this, right? And then she's obviously decided that I haven't heard it the first time. So she's come back again really close in, and her mouth is just up against my ear, and she asks the same question. I'm like, no, right, I can't do this. So I actually had to stop the healing session, because it really wasn't a healing session. I thought, I can't even be here now. So I just sat up and I said, look, I'm really sorry. I have to stop this session. I don't think we should be continuing. And it was really interesting, actually, in hindsight, because, she wasn't a bad person. She wasn't an evil person. She just wanted to know these answers. She was a bit disturbed, to be honest. Anyway, long story short, it ended without ill will. It ended up being a counselling and a spiritual session where I sat there listening to her. And when I walked away, I sort of, I ended up explaining to her about karma and that kind of stuff. Anyway, bottom line, I thought, well, she'll change her ways after that. There's no way she's going to want to incur this negative karma that will be coming her way if she keeps using. Because this, actually, I should clarify here. When she did what she did, she was actually misusing her power. If you don't know that, she was seeking to manipulate divine energy to power over me as her client, so that I would fulfill her emotional needs and tell her what it is that she wanted to know. So that is a complete misuse of energy besides anything else. So yeah, I obviously told her. I don't remember exactly how I told her, but I know that it ended up on a good note when I walked out the door. There was no animosity. However, what I did find out, a couple of months later, her business shut down. So I don't know what happened after that. I didn't seek her out again, and she didn't seek me out. But anyway, the point being with this story is just because they have the numerology doesn't mean it's going to go that way, because we all have free will. Just because somebody says they're a powerful healer or a powerful reader or whatever doesn't mean they actually are either. Okay, so this is why we've got to be discerning. And in fact, in that story, when you see me or hear me close down that session, I actually use my own discernment and discrimination. This is not for me. I'm not going to judge her harshly. She's on her journey, but I am not going to actively participate in this. And it ended up fine. So each week, as usual, I'm going to continue to remind people about the Chakra Power tool. I have heard, I don't know if I told you last week, I have heard there's going to be lots of Mars energy this year, so there might be a few people struggling with motivation and so forth. They can always fall back on the power tool or Archangel Michael if you're into angels. I've got a few ideas to develop this particular video down the track when we do live streaming, but we'll talk about that then. So each week, as usual, I'm going to continue to remind people about the Chakra Power. So at the moment, because I'm working on angel content, you can probably expect to be seeing a lot of angel artworks at the moment. I hope you enjoy them. Please do leave feedback, of course, or comments about, if there's a favourite style that you have, or if you would like to see more angels toward a specific energy or associated with colours. Just leave a comment and I'll see what I can do for you, because it's all good fun anyway. I enjoy doing it. So at the moment, because I'm working on angel, so a little bit more yarning this week. I'm going to have a yarn here about the 105 universal laws. And just so you know, I'm not always comfortable with the content that I'm reflecting on. And I'm loath to say it because I know, I'm aware that everybody would probably know that I've claimed the content online about the universal laws where it says, I'm going to put this thing on here, where it says author unknown as my own, because I had written it based on another document and I recognize it as being my own because of the typos. So it's not all of the content that you see on 105 universal laws. Not all the content you see online will be mine, but there is some of it that is definitely mine. And it's actually quite embarrassing, to be honest. Anyway, as I go through it, and I'm reflecting on the document that I had written up, at the time I was creating that document, I didn't have the original author's name. I didn't know the wisdom that was behind it. So, of course, as I've stated before, I was meditating on the content, and I can't remember really terribly much about what I was looking at that time. If I was just looking at the table of the list of the laws, or if there was something more there that I actually was able to put my hands on. So I'm not trying to be evasive, I'm just stating the facts. It was a long time ago. It was 20 years ago now. I remember creating the documents. Anyway, I don't want to waffle on about that because I've already waffled on about that in the past. What I would like to talk about and mention is that I do find it difficult sometimes, because some of it really doesn't sit comfortably with me. And I now realise who the original author was as far as the content goes, that I have responded to within my document, if that's not confusing enough for you. I now know who wrote the original stuff. But before I talk about that, though, I want to talk about how this content of mine got online, and it was published. It was published as a book. So this is the yarn. Quite often when people have got gifts, such as myself, people of questionable intent will see us and meet with us and get dollar signs in their eyes because they can see how they can exploit us. And quite often what happens is we don't realise until we're too far in, because we believe the good in people, I think, a lot of the time, certainly as we are developing in the earlier days. Anyway, in this instance, I had shown a guy who I had believed to be good intent the content that I had written up on the universal laws. So that's my adaptation. Now, as conversations go, he'd said to me, you should publish it as a book. Now, of course, I've turned around and gone, oh, no, I don't think so. Do you really think so? Like, who would read that? That's the original thing. And then it's like, but it's not even a book. It's just a few pages, really. It's not worthy of publishing. And he was like, no, it's really interesting content. It's good content, that whole. So actually, this is emotional manipulation. Just coming back. I just realized this as I'm talking to you. So what he did was no, you've got this information and the public deserves to have it and you should be sharing this information, this kind of stuff. So then it's like, yeah, you're right, actually, you're right. If I can access information, I'm withholding it and being selfish. That's what it is. I'm being selfish if I don't share it. So basically, I was persuaded to write a book. But I'm saying book with quotation marks. I wish you could see the quotation marks. I'm doing air ones. Anyway, what I did was I put it into a draft format because he'd suggested to me that I use a digital publishing something or other. I can't remember what it was now. And I sent it to him as a copy for him to review it. The next thing I know, I got a response from him saying that he had published it and he had built all of this stuff. This is what this guy did. He went and registered a business name for me in his name. He published that book. He went and built an online bookstore so that he could sell my book and other books. So yeah, it was pretty unethical, but either way, I was fit to be tied by the time I found out. So I insisted that he withdraw the book from the website because I realised then exactly what he was doing, which of course he refused. So then I said to him, can you at least remove my name from the document? I want nothing more to do with it. I don't want to be part of this, okay? So where I'm at now is that all of that's how that content got out there as an unknown author. But now I know who the original author of the content is, and it's Alice Bailey. And I think I will do a video as an educational thing, an awareness thing for us and you on the channel, for me and you, because I'm aware in many ways she was probably, I'm sorry, I don't mean to offend, plagiarizing Helena Blavatsky. Now, that might inflame people who follow her way of thinking, but when I do a full video, I think you'll understand why I wouldn't say concluded, why I've come to this way of thinking. And I'm also not saying that she was ill intent either. Just want to be clear about this. But I'm not as convinced, or I'm not convinced that she was as enlightened as she appears to have thought she was, or people may have applied to her. And by the way, I would imagine that her response to I wasn't... in regard to the plagiarizing comment, that she would deny it and state that she wasn't plagiarizing Helena, that she was channeling the same Tibetan monk that Helena used. Now, just to be clear with this is, I think, where some of my conflict comes in. My understanding is that Helena Blavatsky, I think she did about 7 years in Tibet, actually. She stayed at a monastery in Tibet and she studied Tibetan Buddhism, amongst other things. And she became friends, obviously, with a Tibetan monk. And when that monk passed over, my understanding is that Helena claims that he was the one that gave her a lot of wisdom that she put into books and all the rest of it. Helena had obviously passed away by the time Alice Bailey came on the scene. So anyway, that's a juicy little tidbit for you to have a think about. I'm going to continue doing the laws and trying to unpack them as best I can. But I might actually make mention here that a lot of where my discomfort lies is because I can actually read ego between, 20 years on, and I can look at these things and I can unpack the egotistical comments that are in there, or sometimes there's a sense of superiority that's written into some of these laws, which I actually feel is not divine. I think when we're talking about superiority and this belief that people are better than others, that's, to me, is not divine. And I really do question that. But either way, I'm going to stick with it because it seems to be popular. It seems that people are liking it. So I'll continue with it. We'll see what we can work of it. And between all of us, we might actually make some really good ideas, decisions, understandings. Either way, it doesn't do any harm. As long as we're not doing any harm, that's got to be a good thing. So this is becoming a very long video once again. Oh my goodness me. So for now, I'm going to say once again, thank you for being part of my journey. Thanks for prompting me to revisit all this information that I've held and bashed down into Pandora's box for so long. It's timely for me to get back and into it all and have a look at it. So just thank you. Have a wonderful week. Take care of yourselves. Be blessed. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye for now.